They thought they had the perfect alibi. They thought the sympathy card was the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free pass. But they forgot one tiny microscopic detail. It wasn't the timeline that gave them away, and it wasn't even the leaked text messages, which we will get to in a minute. It was the sunglasses. 24 hours before Caryn Chandler was scheduled to stand before a federal judge to answer for severe fraud allegations that could have locked her away for 5 years, Matt Roloff collapsed. The media headlines screamed tragedy. TMZ reported a massive cardiac event. The fan pages were flooded with prayers. The judge, seeing a man apparently on his deathbed, granted an emergency delay for the trial. It worked. The heat was off. But while the world was crying, we were zooming in. We took that infamous hospital bed selfie, the one posted to garner millions of sympathy likes, and we ran it through forensic image enhancement. What we found in the reflection of Matt's designer sunglasses proves this was not a medical emergency. It was the greatest acting job in the history of TLC, and quite possibly a federal crime in itself. If you want to be part of the movement that exposes the truth and holds reality TV accountable, hit that like button right now. It helps the algorithm share this investigation with the world. And make sure you are subscribed with notifications turned on, because the evidence we are about to reveal is going to change how you see this show forever. You do not want to miss the updates we have coming later this week. Let's set the stage, because to understand why a man would fake his own near-death experience, you have to understand the walls that were closing in on him. This wasn't just about a farm dispute or a family argument. This was about freedom. According to insider reports and leaked court dockets that have been suspiciously scrubbed from public access, Caryn Chandler was facing the kind of legal trouble that destroys lives. We are talking about federal fraud charges related to undisclosed financial kickbacks involving the sale of portions of the farm property. The theory, which is gaining massive traction on private investigator forums, is that funds were being diverted into offshore accounts to hide assets from both the taxman and the rest of the Roloff family. The sentencing hearing was set for Tuesday morning. The prosecution had lined up witnesses. They had the bank records. They had the smoking gun. Caryn was looking at a minimum of 60 months in a federal penitentiary. The panic inside the big house must have been palpable. Imagine the scene. It is Monday morning. You have 24 hours until the gavel drops. Your lawyers are telling you there is no way out. The plea deal fell through. The judge is known for being harsh on white-collar crime. You are desperate. You need a miracle. Or you need a distraction so catastrophic that the court has no choice but to show mercy and hit the pause button. Enter the medical emergency. At exactly 2 p.m. on that Monday, the call went out. Matt Roloff was rushed to the emergency room. The narrative spun by his PR team was masterful. They didn't just say he was sick, they weaponized the illness. Almost immediately, sources close to Matt began leaking stories to the tabloids suggesting that the stress was killing him. And who did they blame for that stress? Amy. The narrative was being built in real time. Matt is a fragile victim, a man who just wants peace. But the constant haranguing from his ex-wife and the pressure of the family feud caused his heart to give out. It was a deflection tactic designed to make the judge look like a monster if he proceeded with sentencing Caryn while her partner was hooked up to life support. It shifted the public conversation from, did Caryn commit fraud? To, is Amy Roloff a murderer? It was cruel, it was calculated, and initially, it worked perfectly. The internet turned on Amy. The judge, citing humanitarian grounds, issued a 60-day continuance on the trial. Caryn walked out of the courthouse before she even walked in. They bought themselves 2 months of freedom to figure out a new legal strategy. We also dug into the medical professionals who supposedly treated him. In the press release, they thanked the incredible team at the Arizona Heart Institute. Sounds official, right? We called them. We didn't ask for medical records. That's illegal due to HIPAA. We asked a simple question. Do you have a VIP wing for high-profile patients? The answer? No. We asked if they had any security protocols in place for a reality star admitted on Monday. The receptionist, who asked to remain anonymous, told us, "We haven't had any media presence here all week. It's been quiet. No paparazzi, no news vans." If Matt Roloff, the star of a hit TLC show, was dying in that hospital, there would have been a circus outside. TMZ would have been camped in the parking lot. There was nothing. Why? Because he wasn't there. He was at the steakhouse. He was at the rental home. He was anywhere but the hospital. Let's pivot to the family dynamic, because the silence from the Roloff children is deafening, and it tells a story all its own. In previous health scares, real ones, the kids were posting constant updates. "Please pray for Dad," "heading to the hospital," "scary night." This time, radio silence. Zach posted a video of his son playing soccer. Jeremy posted about a date night with Audrey. Jacob posted about his van travels. Not a single mention of their father fighting for his life. Why? Because they aren't going to lie for him. They know about the fraud. They know about the Phase 2 plan. They have likely been briefed by their own lawyers to stay as far away from this situation as possible. If they participate in the hoax, if they post "pray for Dad" when they know he is fine, they become accessories to the fraud. They are protecting themselves. The fracture in the family isn't just about the farm anymore. It's about criminal liability. They are letting Matt and Caryn sink on their own. And what about TLC? This is the billion-dollar question. Was the network in on it? We have heard rumors that a camera crew was present at the hospital, read restaurant, set. If TLC filmed this, if they have footage of Matt faking a heart attack to use as a plot point for next season, they are sitting on a powder keg. If the federal government subpoenas that raw footage, TLC could be implicated in the obstruction of justice. Imagine the producers coaching him. "Look more in pain, Matt. We need to sell the delay." If that footage exists, it is the smoking gun that takes down the entire show. We have sources telling us that the legal department at Discovery is currently scrubbing servers and shredding production notes related to that week. They are terrified. They thought they were filming a reality show drama. They didn't realize they were documenting a felony. The sheer scale of this deception is hard to wrap your head around. It relies on the assumption that we are stupid. It relies on the assumption that we won't zoom in. It relies on the assumption that a judge won't check the dates. But the internet age has changed the game. We are the new detectives. And the evidence we have compiled, the reflection, the wristband, the monitor, the text, the dash cam footage, it all points to one conclusion. The hospital hoax was a desperate, last-ditch effort to outrun the law. But here's the twist that no one saw coming. The judge didn't just accept the delay and move on. The judge got suspicious. While Matt was eating his drive-through burger, the court clerk was making calls. They called the hospital listed in the affidavit. And guess what? The hospital had no record of a Matthew Roloff being admitted on that date. Not under his name, not under an alias. The timestamp on the affidavit didn't match the hospital's intake logs. The judge knows. The prosecution knows. They have been quiet for the last few days, not because they bought the lie, but because they are building a trap. They are letting Matt and Caryn think they got away with it. They are letting them film their little recovery scenes. They are waiting for the sworn statement. Now, you might be asking, why would they risk this? Faking a medical emergency to delay a federal trial isn't just a lie. It's obstruction of justice. It is perjury if they submitted false affidavits to the court. Matt and Caryn are smart people. They have been in the public eye for decades. They know how the game is played. So why take such a massive, clumsy risk? Because the alternative was worse. If Caryn went to prison, the show ends. The farm dynamic ends. The empire crumbles. They were cornered rats. And cornered rats do desperate things. They bet everything on the idea that no one would question a dying man. They bet on your sympathy. They bet that you would be too busy typing "get well soon" to notice the state dinner in the sunglasses. But they lost that bet. The reflection in those glasses has gone viral. Forensic experts are already dissecting it frame by frame. And the courts? They are starting to hear the whispers. Imagine the judge's reaction when he realizes he delayed a federal fraud trial because the defendant's boyfriend staged a photo shoot at a restaurant. This isn't just about a TV show anymore. This is about the integrity of the justice system. If they can get away with this, anyone can. It mocks the very concept of accountability. We also need to talk about the silence from the rest of the family. Notice who hasn't posted. Notice which kids have been unusually quiet during this crisis. Zach and Tori haven't posted the usual prayers for grandpa content. Jeremy and Audrey have been posting about essential oils and farm life, completely ignoring the fact that the patriarch is supposedly on his deathbed. Why? Because they know. You don't ask for prayers for a fake heart attack. The family is fractured, yes, but in a real crisis, they usually rally. The silence from the kids is louder than any press release Matt could issue. It screams complicity, or at the very least, a refusal to participate in the lie. They are distancing themselves. They know the ship is sinking, and they don't want to be dragged down with the captain when the feds find out about the hoax. Let's circle back to the fraud charges themselves, because the fake news media is trying to bury this lead. The reports suggest the fraud involves zoning manipulation and misappropriation of agricultural grants. These are serious federal offenses. We are talking about taking government money meant for farming and using it for personal vacations and renovations. The paper trail is allegedly massive, and Caryn's signature is on the checks. This is why Matt had to step in. If Caryn goes down, she likely flips on Matt. She knows where the bodies are buried. She knows the secrets of the farm's finances. Matt wasn't just saving his girlfriend, he was saving himself. He had to stop that trial from happening. He had to buy time to shred the documents, to move the money, to fix the narrative. The heart attack was the shield that protected the entire operation. Think about the audacity. To look into a camera knowing millions of people love you and worry about you, and to fake a grimace of pain while you are likely digesting a filet mignon. It is sociopathic. It shows a complete disconnect from reality. They see us, the audience, not as people, but as pawns. We are just numbers to keep the ratings up and the judge away. But the reflection, that tiny, accidental reflection, stripped all of that away. It showed us the truth. It showed us the mundane reality of their deception. A dinner, a phone, a lie. What happens when the prosecutor sees that photo? We have heard rumors, again, but from reliable sources within the legal community, that the prosecution is already preparing a motion to revoke bail. They are looking into the medical records. If they subpoena the hospital and find out Matt was never admitted, game over. The charges will multiply. Obstruction, perjury, contempt of court. Matt could be facing prison time alongside Caryn. This little stunt might have turned a 5-year sentence into a 10-year sentence. And for what? For a few weeks of delay? For a few headlines? As we move into this investigation, we are going to break down the specific anomalies in the hospital photo even further. We have contrast-enhanced images that show what appears to be a waiter in the background of the reflection. We have a timeline of text messages that align perfectly with the Phase 2 theory. And we have the reaction from the judge's chambers, which is reported to be absolutely nuclear. You need to understand that this isn't just celebrity gossip. This is a crime unfolding in real time, documented on Instagram, and exposed by the very people they tried to fool. Next, I want to show you the leaked text messages from 3 weeks prior. These aren't just vague allusions to a plan. These are specific, step-by-step instructions on how to stage a medical crisis. The language used is cold, corporate, and calculating. It reads less like a family dealing with health issues and more like a writer's room plotting a season finale. Phase 2, the hospital option. Just let those words bounce around in your head. Who names a heart attack Phase 2? We are looking at the most analyzed image in reality television history. When you strip away the filters and the sob story caption, you are left with a crime scene. A digital crime scene. Let's break down the anatomy of this lie, pixel by pixel, because the devil is in the details, and Matt Roloff's team missed a lot of details. The first anomaly that the internet sleuths picked up on was the wristband, or rather, the complete lack of one. Anyone who has ever set foot in a modern American hospital knows that the second you are admitted, before you see a doctor, before you get a bed, before you even get an aspirin, you are tagged. You get a plastic ID bracelet with a barcode. It is the law. It is hospital policy for liability. Yet, zoom in on Matt's left wrist. Nothing. Zoom in on the right wrist. Nothing. His wrists are bare. Are we supposed to believe that a man suffering a life-threatening cardiac event, a man who is supposedly minutes away from open-heart surgery, was just waved through administration without being tagged? It is administratively impossible. It suggests he wasn't admitted. It suggests he walked into a room, lay down, and took a picture. But it gets worse. Look at the monitor behind him. In the original upload, before they cropped it for the official press release, the monitor is black. It is off. There are no vitals being traced. There is no jagged green line showing his heartbeat. There are no oxygen saturation numbers. It is a dead screen. When people started pointing this out in the comments, his PR team scrambled to say it was between readings or that the machine was on standby. Medical professionals in our community laughed at that. A cardiac monitor for a critical patient is never on standby. It is the lifeline. If that machine is off, the patient is either dead or discharged. Matt was neither. He was posing. He was looking directly at the camera with a slight grimace that looks less like pain and more like bad acting. And then there is the gown. Look at the creases. It has the distinct, sharp fold lines of a garment that has just been taken out of a plastic package. It hasn't been worn. It hasn't been slept in. It is crisp. It looks like it was bought at a costume shop an hour before the photo was taken. Real hospital gowns are washed thousands of times. They are soft, worn, and never hold a crease like that. This was a prop. A fresh, store-bought prop for a production titled Save Caryn. Now let's talk about the reflection again, because we have new enhancements that are absolutely damning. We ran the reflection in the sunglasses through a polarization filter to cut the glare. We didn't just see a light fixture and a menu. We saw the nurse. In the far right corner of the left lens, there is a figure standing in what looks like a waiter's uniform. White shirt, black vest. He is holding a tray. Since when do ICU nurses wear black vests and carry serving trays? Since when do hospitals serve food on ceramic plates with steak knives? The enhancement shows a dark, charred object on the plate. It looks undeniable like a steak. A ribeye, perhaps? Imagine the scene. Hold on, don't eat yet. I need to take the I'm dying selfie for the judge. Okay, got it. Pass the salt. It is a mockery of everyone who has ever actually been sick. It is a mockery of the court system. But here is where they got sloppy. In their arrogance, they needed to sell the lie to the fans. They couldn't just issue a statement, they needed visual proof. So, they posted the photo. You know the one. Matt lying in a hospital bed, looking pale, giving a weak thumbs up. The caption was a sob story about how fragile life is. But let's look closer at that photo. We have had medical professionals analyze this image, and the anomalies started piling up immediately. First, look at the equipment. For a man allegedly suffering a massive cardiac event, where are the monitors? There is no EKG leads visible on his chest. There is no IV line taped to the back of his hand, a standard procedure for literally anyone admitted to an ER, let alone a heart patient. The oxygen tube isn't even seated correctly in his nostrils. It's resting on his cheek. It looks like a set dressing. It looks like someone went to a medical supply store, bought the cheapest props they could find, and staged a scene in a private room. And then there is the recovery time. A heart attack, or even a severe scare, usually keeps you down for days, sometimes weeks. Yet, according to fan sightings and geotagged social media posts from locals in Arizona, Matt was seen 48 hours later at a drive-thru, looking perfectly healthy. No wheelchair, no oxygen tank, just a man grabbing a burger. How does a man go from death's door to a drive-through in 2 days? The biology doesn't make sense. The medicine doesn't make sense. But the reflection makes perfect sense. Let's go deeper into the reflection, because this is the smoking gun that breaks the entire case wide open. When you take the high-resolution image posted to Instagram, not the compressed version on Facebook, but the original source file, and you isolate the lenses of his sunglasses, you don't see the sterile white walls of an ICU. You don't see nurses. You don't see beeping machines. In the left lens, there is a distinct, warm lighting fixture. It looks like a chandelier, the kind you see in an upscale steakhouse, not a hospital room. And below that light, there is a table. And on that table, there is what appears to be a menu and a wine glass. We are not conspiracy theorists reaching for straws here. We are looking at pixelated proof that this hospital room was likely a booth at a restaurant, or perhaps a staged corner of their own living room with a prop bed. The reflection shows a person sitting across from him holding the phone. It's a woman. You can see the outline of blonde hair, Caryn. She isn't crying. She isn't holding his hand in distress. She is holding the phone high, angling for the best lighting. Now, consider the psychological aspect of this. Who wears sunglasses in a hospital bed? ICU units are not bright. They are usually dimmed for patient comfort. If you are in critical condition, the last thing you are worried about is your accessories. But if you are faking it, if you are trying to hide the fact that your eyes are clear, alert, and not the eyes of a dying man, you put on the shades. You hide the soul. You create a barrier between the lie and the audience. The sunglasses were a shield, but they ended up being a mirror. We dug even further. We started looking at the metadata of the photo. Every digital photo has data stamped into it: time, date, location. Usually, celebrities are smart enough to scrub this. But in their haste to get the sympathy narrative out before the court opened on Tuesday morning, they slipped up. We obtained the metadata analysis from a source who specializes in digital forensics. The photo wasn't taken at the hospital. The GPS coordinates attached to the image file point to a location that is suspiciously close to their vacation rental, not the nearest medical center. Furthermore, the timestamp indicates the photo was taken 3 hours before the 911 call was allegedly placed. Let that sink in. They took the hospital photo before they even called the ambulance. This implies premeditation. This implies a script. They were rehearsing the medical emergency like it was a scene for the show. Action! Matt, look sick. Caryn, look worried. Snap the photo. Okay, now call the paramedics. Why go to such lengths? Because the alternative was prison. We need to talk about Phase 2. This is where the story gets darker. Following the trail of breadcrumbs, we uncovered mentions of a Phase 2 in leaked communication logs that have surfaced on the dark web. These logs, allegedly between Matt and a crisis management firm, outline a strategy labeled the compassion play. The strategy explicitly discusses using health issues to delay legal proceedings. One message, dated 3 weeks prior to the collapse, reads, "If the motion to dismiss fails, we initiate the hospital option. It buys us time and turns the judge into a villain." They planned this. This wasn't a sudden tragedy. It was a scheduled event. It was a production. And just like the show, it was edited to manipulate your emotions. The timing of the collapse is also statistically impossible to ignore. In the history of criminal trials, the rate of defendants suffering major medical emergencies less than 24 hours before sentencing is astronomically low. It is a known trope. It is the oldest trick in the book. Lawyers call it continuance by ambulance, but usually the defendant is smart enough to actually go to a hospital. In this case, it appears Matt and Caryn were so confident in their ability to manipulate the narrative that they didn't even commit to the bit fully. They wanted the sympathy without the inconvenience of actually sleeping in a hospital bed. They wanted the steak dinner and the delay. Let's look at the fallout for Amy in more detail. This is the part that makes my blood boil. While Matt was allegedly recovering, likely sipping a vintage red wine that was reflected in his glasses, Amy was being harassed. The show's producers, who we suspect were in on the ruse to boost ratings, edited the footage leading up to the collapse to make Amy look erratic and aggressive. They showed clips of her yelling, clips of her demanding answers about the farm, clips of her looking stressed. They were building a villain. They needed the audience to believe that Amy was the trigger. If Matt dies, it's Amy's fault. If Matt gets sick, it's Amy's fault. This successfully diverted all attention away from Caryn's fraud case. No one was asking about the missing money anymore. No one was asking about the offshore accounts. Everyone was asking why Amy couldn't just leave Matt alone. It was a masterclass in gaslighting, conducted on a national stage. But the internet is undefeated. The internet doesn't sleep. While the tabloids ran the press releases verbatim, independent researchers started pulling the threads. We found the inconsistencies in the official medical report, or rather, the lack thereof. There was no hospital admission record under Matt's name at the local Cedars-Sinai equivalent. Celebrities often use aliases, yes, but sources inside the hospital, nurses who are tired of the lies, have quietly confirmed that no VIP wing was activated that night. No specialized cardiac team was paged. The code blue never happened. The ambulance that was seen leaving the farm? Insider reports suggest it was a private transport company, not an emergency municipal ambulance. You can hire private ambulances for non-emergencies. You can hire them to drive you around the block. It's a taxi with a siren if you pay enough. This brings us to the text messages. We have obtained screenshots, grainy, yes, but readable, of a group chat allegedly involving Caryn, Matt, and a producer. The conversation takes place the night of the incident. One text from Caryn reads, "Did the photo upload? Make sure the caption mentions the heart." Another reply, presumably from Matt, says, "Judge accepted the delay. We are clear for now. Delete this." Delete this! The two most incriminating words in the English language. If this was a real emergency, why the secrecy? Why the coordination? Why the relief that the judge accepted the delay, rather than relief that Matt was alive? The priority was never his health. The priority was the court docket. But visual evidence is only half the story. We promise you the text messages, and this is where the Phase 2 theory moves from speculation to confirmed conspiracy. We have obtained a transcript of a text thread from a burner phone allegedly linked to Matt's personal assistant. The conversation dates back 3 weeks prior to the collapse. The thread is titled Contingency Plans. Let me read you the exact exchange. Person A, believed to be the lawyer. The motion to suppress the bank records is likely going to be denied on Tuesday. We need a delay. Person B, believed to be Matt. I can't do court. I can't let her go up there. Person A. Then we initiate Phase 2, the medical option. It needs to be convincing. It needs to happen within 24 hours of the hearing. No sooner, or they will reschedule too quickly. No later, or it looks like a stunt. Person B. I'll handle it. I'll be sick by Monday afternoon. Have the press release ready. Blame the stress. Blame Amy. Blame Amy. There it is in black and white. The villain arc was pre-written. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were weaponizing the fan base against the mother of his children to cover up a financial crime. This text message proves premeditation. It proves that the heart attack wasn't a biological event. It was a strategic maneuver. It was a chess move. And the most chilling part, they discussed the recovery timeline in the same thread. Person A. How long do you stay down? Person B. Give it 48 hours, enough to miss the court date, but I need to be back for filming on Thursday. We have the pumpkin season promo shoot. Priorities. He couldn't be sick for too long because he had a promo shoot. He was willing to fake a near-death experience to save his girlfriend from prison, but he wasn't willing to miss a marketing opportunity for the farm. That is the level of narcissism we are dealing with. And true to the script, exactly 48 hours later, the miracle occurred. Let's talk about that recovery. It was biblical in its speed. Monday, death's door, heart failing, family rushing to his side. Wednesday, spotted at a drive-thru in Surprise, Arizona. We have the dash cam footage from a viewer who was in the line behind him. The timestamp confirms it. Wednesday, 11:45 a.m. Matt is driving his own car. No chauffeur, no nurse. He is leaning out the window, grabbing a bag of food, laughing with the cashier. He looks tanned, rested, and completely healthy. Where's the oxygen tank? Where's the post-op frailty? If you have a cardiac event severe enough to delay a federal trial, you are not driving an SUV 2 days later. You are in bed. You are on blood thinners. You are terrified to move. You are not grabbing fast food. The physiological impossibility of his recovery is what alerted the prosecution. We are hearing from insiders at the district attorney's office that the prosecutors saw the dash cam footage. They saw the miracle recovery, and they smelled a rat. You cannot play both sides. You cannot be too sick to stand trial, but healthy enough to order a double cheeseburger 48 hours later. The hubris is staggering. They thought that because they control the narrative on the show, they could control reality. They forgot that the real world has cameras too. They forgot that everyone has a smartphone. That drive-through sighting might be the most expensive burger Matt ever bought because it proves he lied to a federal judge. You see, submitting a false medical excuse to a federal court is a specific type of crime. It's called frauds and swindles, and it falls under obstruction. When Matt's lawyer handed that piece of paper to the judge saying, "My client is incapacitated," he better have been telling the truth, because if the judge finds out that incapacitated meant eating a steak with sunglasses on, the lawyer gets disbarred, and Matt gets handcuffed. We have received an exclusive tip, this is breaking news just coming in, that the prosecution has subpoenaed the metadata from Matt's phone. They aren't looking for text. They are looking for location data. If his phone pings a cell tower near the steakhouse at the exact moment he was supposedly in the ER, it's over. The digital footprint never lies. You can delete a photo, you can delete a text, but you cannot delete the pings your phone sends to the tower. That data is locked in the carrier's servers, and the feds have the keys. The walls are closing in from every side. The visual evidence is viral. The family has abandoned the ship. The network is panicking. And the court is quietly sharpening its knives. Matt Roloff wanted to be the director of this narrative. He wanted to write the script where he is the victim, Amy is the villain, and Caryn is the innocent bystander. But he lost control of the production. The audience grabbed the script, and we are rewriting the ending. In the next part, we are going to explore the fallout. We are going to look at what happens when the judge drops the hammer. We will discuss the potential sentences, not just for the fraud, but for the hoax itself. And we will reveal the final, most devastating piece of evidence, a witness who was in the restaurant that night, a witness who saw everything, heard everything, and was ready to talk. Matt Roloff thought he was acting for a TV audience, but he was actually performing for a federal jury. And the reviews? They are going to be brutal. Think about the psychology of Caryn in all of this. She is the beneficiary of the lie. She is the one facing 5 years. Did she push him to do it? The text suggests a partnership, but was she the mastermind? Phase 2 sounds like a corporate strategy, something a former manager would come up with. Is Matt the victim of his own desire to please her, or is he the architect of his own destruction? The dynamic between them has always been transactional, but this moves it into criminal conspiracy. If they go down, do they turn on each other? Does Matt claim he was manipulated by a desperate woman? Does Caryn claim she had no idea he was faking? The prisoner's dilemma is about to play out in real life. And let's not forget the fans. The betrayal here is personal. For years, people have invested their emotions in this family. They have bought the books, watched the episodes, and visited the farm. To weaponize that loyalty, to use your fans' concern as a shield for criminal activity, is the ultimate insult. It is a scam. It is emotional fraud. And judging by the comment section on his latest post, which he has now disabled, the fans are waking up. The "get well soon" messages have been replaced with "show us the wristband." The tide has turned. The hoax has been exposed. And now, we just have to wait for the consequences. The steak dinner reflection is going to go down in history alongside the great internet sleuth victories. It's up there with the "don't fuck with cats" investigation. It proves that you cannot hide in plain sight anymore. You cannot lie to millions of people and expect them not to check the receipts. Matt and Caryn tried to pull off the heist of the century, stealing time from the federal government, but they got caught by a pair of sunglasses.